So hi Laura, I'm Richard, nice to meet you.
Hi Richard.
How are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. So you contacted me about a coaching session a couple days ago, and I'm excited about having an opportunity today to work with you. And I wanted to just let you know that today, based on everything that we discovered about our phone conversation about what you wanted to work on, I wanted to let you know that I think I have the perfect tool for you today. And you had talked a lot about in your work with me on the phone about how you wanted to learn how to manifest something in your life and working on something and to get bigger and bigger and bigger in your life, and you were a little bit of a fog. So I have this awesome tool, and it's called Manifestation with Ants. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that as we move through the process, okay?
Okay.
So what is it that you do, Laura, to bring yourself into the now? What would you do right now in this moment to get yourself centered?
Probably just take a couple minutes and in silence and just breathe deeply and...
Cool. So I do something very similar, and so what I'm going to invite you to do is go ahead and do what you do to center yourself, and then I'm going to do what I do, and then we'll meet in the middle when we're ready.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Okay. Do you feel like you're ready?
I am.
All right. So Laura, my intention today is, with all clients, is to leave you with something more than we walked in with today. And what that more is, or what that's going to look like, I really have no attachment to the outcome of what's going to show up today. I just know that something more is going to pop out. So in this process, I'd like to just ask you, is there anything you want to speak out right now that would get whatever is up for you out? Is there anything you want to say before we move forward?
No, this is not usually a comfortable situation for me to sit and talk with somebody about anything but what's going on in my life or anything like that. So I guess you should be prepared for that.
Okay, and so does that mean you're just uncomfortable just being a little bit vulnerable?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So what I want you to know is that you're safe, and that everything that we talk about is confidential, and that I'm not going to go out and speak about the details of your session or anything about the things that you share with me today. It's going to be 100% confidential, and that my job is to draw you out of your own brilliance. And I have a belief system with all my clients that everyone knows the answers with them, and my job as a transformational master life coach is to draw you out and to really find your own brilliance and your own answers. Okay? So I'm going to hold that for you, that you have the answers, and if there's a moment where you might feel a little uncomfortable, I'm just going to gently nudge you. And I think as we move through this process, I think you're going to get more and more comfortable.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Are you ready to begin?
Let's do it.
So I want to just brainstorm with you for a second. And the very beginning of this tool, I'd like to ask you about things that you want to manifest. And I'm not looking for a long story. What I'm looking for are words or a quick phrase. So tell me what it is that you want to manifest in your life, Laura.
Openness.
Openness. Okay. Great. What else?
I'd like to, whatever the opposite of fear would be. So strength, I guess.
Okay. Strength. I
Or
like
bravery.
that. I like that. So bravery, and to be brave. And I'm also hearing the word like becoming fierce for some reason, because it's the opposite of fear, right? It's being fierce.
Yes.
Okay. I love that. That's great. What else do you want to manifest in your life?
I'd like to not always be worried about the consequences. And I think there's a balance. And I think I tend to worry too much about, if I make this decision, all the bad things that could happen. So then I stay in that safe zone. I want to be able to just let myself go and try, and everything's going to be okay.
What I heard in that is that you want to have more freedom in your life.
Yes.
Is that truth?
Exactly.
Because it almost feels like what you've been telling me, Laura, in this very short amount of time that we've been together is that you have a lot of internal dialogue, which is why this is a perfect tool for you. So really what you want is more freedom. And that's not only just freedom to go, but also mental freedom. Am I right?
Very much so.
Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. You're doing great. What else do you want more to manifest? What else would you like to manifest in your life?
In our conversation earlier, you mentioned something about vulnerability. I'd like to be comfortable with being vulnerable.
Okay, I love it.
And recognize the difference between being weak and vulnerable.
Ah, yes. So you have an idea that vulnerability is a weakness. And what if I said to you that just because we show our vulnerabilities doesn't mean we lose our credibility?
The words that come out are very strong, but it's hard for me to internalize them.
Got it. And another thought is that when we're vulnerable, we're available. Right?
Yes.
So when you're in this process of being vulnerable, like imagine that you meet someone new in your life and they're not vulnerable. Do you think you're going to be attracted to that when they're closed off all the time?
No.
Right. So that would be a mirror for you to say, when I want to manifest something new in my life, maybe a relationship or new friendships or things like that, that our job is to be vulnerable. Because when I share my heart with you, it opens your heart up to me.
Okay.
Am I right about that?
Yeah, very much,
okay.
yeah.
So far what you've told me, Laura, is that you'd like to open or manifest openness, strength, bravery, fierceness, freedom, and vulnerability. Is there anything else you'd like to manifest in your life?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, fantastic. So I want to just take you through this next piece, and this is the question. So could you get bigger than that? Does that feel as big as it can get right now for you, as things that you want to manifest?
Oh, yes, definitely.
That feels pretty big?
That feels, yeah.
Okay, I do feel that with you, but I have to ask you another question. You ready? Is that as big as you want to get right now?
I'd like to be as big as I can be.
Okay. And if you could get bigger than those things that you told me, I'll repeat: openness, strength, bravery, fierceness, freedom, and vulnerability. If you could get bigger than that, or pick one of those would stretch you the furthest today, what would it be?
I lean toward freedom, but I feel like my biggest wall is around vulnerability.
I see. And I already know that about you, just on what but I have to say, being willing to sit here is pretty vulnerable, isn't it? Especially not even knowing who I am.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time we've ever met.
Yes.
Okay, so it feels pretty vulnerable to you.
It does, yes.
Okay.
I'm nervous.
You're nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. And what if I said to you that those nerves that you have right now is energy moving up and out, and it's actually giving birth to something new within you? Because being uncomfortable only means we're growing, right?
Yeah.
So let's just say we're growing. Could you possibly take that on as I'm growing?
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to grow some more with me?
I do.
Okay. So what I heard you say is I need you to name, and you already did it, but I'm going to make sure that we're clear on this, that what we're going to be manifesting in this tool is vulnerability. Is that correct?
Vulnerability.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that what you want to work on?
Yes, let's work
Okay.
on the vulnerability.
So I'm going to write that down as what it is that Laura, you, are wanting to work on. Okay. Next. You're doing fantastic. If you could give me 6 attributes that you would need to be in order to become more vulnerable, what would those attributes be?
So this is how I would define somebody who is vulnerable?
Sure, that's a great question. That's a great way of looking at it.
Okay.
Like if I was to show up as vulnerable, you, Laura, I would need to be what?
Emotional,
Okay.
trusting, see, I tend to go toward weak.
So this is what you need to become or be or show up as. So we wouldn't want to be weak,
Okay.
right?
So I guess strong. If you want
Yeah.
to show your vulnerability, you have to be pretty strong.
Right? You used a word earlier in what we were drawing you out. You said open. Is that something we could add to the
Yes.
list? Okay. And you also used a word called brave and fierce. Would those apply?
Yes.
Do you want to add
definitely.
those?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So right now we have 6 attributes that you would need to become more vulnerable and manifest vulnerability in your life. And that is emotional, or being emotional, trusting the process and that which is going on. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Strong, open, brave, and fierce.
Definitely.
Are there any other words you'd like to add to this list of attributes?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, that feels like a stretch for you.
Yeah.
What I want to say to you right now is that I really feel that this is about as big as you want to get right now, because one of the things we never want to do in coaching is stretch our clients to where we break them. And so I want to meet you where you are today, and I feel like this is a really good frame for us to start with.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready to move forward?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do is I'd like to give you examples of what simple mantras sound like. So, and then we're going to build a mantra with these 6 words that you gave me earlier. Okay. So I want to repeat these to you, and then I want you to tell me how this feels as an example of a simple mantra, which is where we're going. So one of the simple mantras would be, I say yes to having a life that works for me all the time.
Okay.
I say yes to a career that pays me more money than I can spend. I say yes to a career that I can help people. I say yes to a career that provides me with satisfaction, fun, and peace. And I say yes to a career that I can enjoy the people I work with in a healthy, positive way that feeds my soul. So those are examples. Does any of those resonate with you, if any or all?
What was the third one?
Yeah.
I say yes to a career that can help people.
Okay, perfect. Are you currently doing that right now in your life?
I do.
Okay, and you're liking what you're doing?
I do.
Beautiful, and you help people?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like I do.
So what I like about this example is that we are able to look at how simple mantras can be. They don't have to be long paragraphs. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. And an offering to you, Laura, would be is that at any moment in your life when you need to ground yourself or re-anchor yourself back to your truth, that you could use a mantra to regather yourself from, I guess the word would be is, when I'm in vulnerability, and I know I'm vulnerable, there might be something that you could say out loud or internally that would ground you back to knowing that you're safe. Why am I picking up that what this is really about is feeling unsafe when you're vulnerable? Is there truth to that?
Yes.
Could you just frame that for me of what I picked up there?
Sure. I guess I've always felt, when I have felt vulnerable, I always felt like I'm open and I can be, I guess, hurt, or that something else or somebody else is taking away my freedom or who I am, and that's not a comfortable spot for me. So I would rather just not be vulnerable.
And there's been times in your life, obviously, where this has shown up as truth for you,
Yes.
that if I let my heart out, then I get trampled on. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is a very common coaching question, but how's that working for you?
It is obviously not working very well because I'm here.
How is it showing up for you in your life? How is it not working for you, not being vulnerable?
It has hurt relationships,
Okay.
both friendships and romantic relationships. And I think in ways that has also hurt me as a mother. Yeah. So.
Okay. So you know that it's not working, and
Yeah.
part of it is to be willing to open your heart more.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a whole bunch there, but I thank you for sharing that with me and being vulnerable with me. And do you feel safe right now with me?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, well, let's move forward. So in this space right down here, what we're going to do is we're going to build a mantra based on the words that you gave me that's going to support you. Okay? So let's just play with this. So what you said is I'm just going to write this out for you, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have you come back and write it in a moment.
Okay.
But for now, I'm going to play with this. This is just a play mantra so we can get all the kinks out of it. Okay? So I, Laura, say yes. And I'm a firm believer that we can say a lot of things, but the most powerful word we can say is the word yes. Versus I wish, I hope, I want. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Those are weak words, but when we just claim it and we say, I say yes, the door opens. Like there's no way around it. Like you just commanded that door to open, and that's what's going to happen. So I want you to understand why I'm using the word I, Laura, say yes.
Okay.
You with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
So I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. So far, so good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, your eyes went up because...
Because the idea is great, but I don't know if I truly believe that I say yes to vulnerability. The I hope I become vulnerable, I wish I were vulnerable, those are all future. I'll work toward that when I'm ready. But the say yes to being vulnerable it's right now, let's do it, you know? And that's scary.
Okay.
That's why I'm not vulnerable.
So here's the thing. What if we said right now, as we step into this mantra, that we're going to claim a miracle for your life right now?
Great.
I'm a miracle worker, and my work in the world is to literally help people shift, evolve, and transform their life with words. So are you willing in this moment to claim a miracle that vulnerability will just set in, and that you will, whatever is blocking you or detouring you from that word and being vulnerable will be removed?
Yes.
Cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. You're doing fantastic. So I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. I do this through being emotional, trusting, open, brave, fierce, and staying open with my feelings and heart. So we just incorporated every single word into that mantra. And you gave those to me, not me. I asked you what attributes that you would need in order to become more vulnerable. So I incorporated all of those words, attributes, into this mantra. And I just did my little spin on it. So I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me how this feels for you.
Okay.
All right? I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. I do this through being emotional, trusting, open, brave, fierce, and staying open with my feelings and my heart. What comes up for you as I read that to you, Laura?
I guess my first thought is, what are the difference between feelings and heart?
So what do you think they are? What do you know they are?
I think the heart is where feelings come from.
Okay.
And so if you're open with one, you're going to be open with the other.
Okay. So would you like to take out one of those words? Would you like to play with just having one of them, or do you want me to give you a thought?
Can you give
about
me a-
how they connect or are not exactly the same.
Yes, would
Okay.
you mind?
So your feelings are coming from your heart. But what if I said there's 3 levels of knowing? So we have a heart space, I'm sorry, we have a head space, we have our heart space, and we have our knowing space. So this is where we process, this is where we keep ourselves safe, is in our head. It's a reactor. It's always like thinking ahead and trying to navigate in a way that we can stay safe. If I can,
Logical kind of.
totally logical. So you're going to stay in your head. So if I can be faster, quicker, and think this out faster than the other person, then I can get ahead of them and I'm safe.
Yep,
You with me?
completely.
Is that you?
That's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our heart space is when we connect to things like love, sympathy, empathy, devotion, connection, and all those different words that are amazing. That's all heart-centered. Love, forgiveness, things like that. Our knowing is a place of intuition. It's a place that we know that we know that we know that we know. It's this thing that we just know things, and we know that we have a crystal clear channel to our, what I refer to as our God of understanding. So if you had a God of understanding, what is that?
What is my God of understanding?
How do you claim it, name it?
Oh, God.
Okay. So if God is present in your knowing, and you are able to know that my feelings and my heart are different because I have a knowing within me that knows I'm okay, that knows I'm safe, and my strength could be to step into my God center. So this is what I call my God center.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if we should change this to something like this. I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. I do this through being emotional, trusting, open, brave, fierce, and staying open with my feelings and connecting to my knowing.
I like that.
You like that better? So what I love about this is that we can modify this as we go so it rings true for you.
Okay. Does that mean over time I can modify it too?
Yeah, and I love that idea, and I love what you just asked me because mantras are going to shift and change as you shift and change, and so it's important as a client that's working in their higher self to give birth to their higher self to be able to really change and modify these types of things so they're current for you today. Okay? All right, so far so good?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, so what we've done, Laura, is we've built this amazing mantra. Now we could be done right here, but I know there is more inside of you that we need to look at.
Yeah.
So I'm going to repeat the mantra, and then I want to introduce you to what I call ANTs. And an ANT is an acronym for automatic negative thoughts.
Okay.
And I would imagine that we could speak this mantra out 1,000 times a day, but then the ant pops up in your head and it derails you and it tries to thwart it or stop it from happening. Are you with me?
Yep.
So I would imagine that there's already a few ants that have come up based on the mantra we just created for you. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So again, ANT stands for automatic negative thoughts, and I want to deal with those ants. I want to stomp those ants out, so you don't leave the session with a bunch of ants, and then everything you said. Remember, your words are containers that hold your future. You just literally thwart everything because you just anted your life to death before you even got home. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to reread your mantra, and then I want you to tell me your first and but.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. I do this through being emotional, trusting, open, brave, fierce, and staying open with my feelings and connecting to my knowing. But
how do I do that without going too far? Or should I just continue going through them?
Yep.
Okay. How do I not annoy somebody with my vulnerability?
Okay.
How do I support somebody else in their vulnerability if I am vulnerable?
Okay. Now, what I find interesting is everything you said, your bets, your ands, your ants, were all how do I. I've never heard that in all of my life, in my work in this for 2 decades. I've never had anyone say, how do I? I hear more things like, yeah, but I'm not good enough. Yeah, but my mom told me I was stupid. Yeah, but, etc. And what I'm hearing is you have a lot of how will I, how do I, which just confirms that you do live in your head. That's a heady answer. That's a heady question. How do I do it? So you're always in the future trying to figure out what's your next step, isn't it?
Yep.
Do you know that about yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
I play life like I play chess.
So it's like so literally it's a strategy.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you know that about yourself until just now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess I've always been aware of that I'm always looking for the next move and waiting for a way to keep myself, I guess, from being vulnerability based on everything that's going on around me.
Yeah, I get it.
Makes sense.
It's a lot. And I really appreciate you being vulnerable with me because you're doing amazing work right now and being vulnerable with me. You just met me and you're being very, very heart-centered with me. Okay, you ready to move forward?
Yeah.
All right. I want to tell you a story about yourself, and then I want you to tell me how this feels.
Okay.
You ready? Would you be willing to close your eyes for a second?
Sure.
All right. So you said, how do I do that without going too far? How do I help others somehow? How can I support others in their vulnerability? How do I open myself up and not be taken advantage of? How do I heal from my past vulnerabilities? So right now, that's what's floating in your life, Laura. So open your eyes for me. And how do you think, with all of that going on, do you feel that that's going to support your vulnerability with all that racket and chatter?
No, definitely not.
Because like you said, you're in like this chess game. It's almost like what I'm hearing is you're in a place of protecting myself. I'm going to make sure that if I be a little quicker and a little more step and see the strategy, I can save myself from costing me another, what's the word? Costing me what?
A heartbreak?
Conflict? A heartbreak? So it's about your heart space, right? Not being open.
I guess, yeah. I mean, up until now, I guess I didn't think about that, but that's kind of what I'm drawn toward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a story that you told me. So let's do what we call a reframe, because right now what's floating out there is that negative thought. How do I? So I want you, I'm going to read it, I want you to give me a positive reframe without the how.
Okay.
Okay, I want you just to just claim it like a yes.
Okay.
Okay? So what's the reframe to? How do I do that without going too far?
Yes, I will do that without going too far.
Okay.
Is that?
Could be. What if we tried this? And this, I'll go back to what you said if I want. I have perfect self-control.
I like that. I have perfect self-control.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So I have perfect self-control. Way different than how do I? Okay, what's the positive reframe, Laura, to how do I do this with someone else and stay safe?
I can be safe and vulnerable.
Ooh, wow. I felt that all the way into my internalness. So say it again.
I can still be safe and vulnerable.
And vulnerable, okay. So that's powerful. I can be safe and vulnerable. Did you see the difference in that?
Yeah, I can be
Okay.
safe and vulnerable.
I can be safe and vulnerable. Awesome. How can I support others in their vulnerability? What's the positive reframe to that?
I can be.
How about I am?
I am vulnerable.
Okay, so let me help you. What if it sounds like this? I am capable
Of supporting someone else in their vulnerability.
Fantastic. All right, you ready for a new story?
Yeah.
Okay. Could Could you close your eyes for me, please, Laura? Take a nice deep breath. So here's your news story. I have perfect self-control. I can be safe and vulnerable. I am capable of helping others in their vulnerability. With discernment, I will allow myself to be vulnerable. I will heal. Now, what does that feel like to hear that story?
It's a lot more powerful. It's still a little scary, but it is a lot more powerful. And I like the direction that it's going.
Where is it going?
It's to a place of trusting those around me.
Yeah. If you had this as your new story and these boundaries and these parameters in your search and quest to become more vulnerable and open in your life, do you think that your life would shift and change?
Oh, definitely.
Good.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to now build your mantra.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm going to actually have you do the work.
All right.
So we're going to now build this mantra based on the mantra that you and I created from this sheet, which was the play sheet on page 2.
Okay.
Okay? Are you ready?
Yep.
I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. Period.
I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable.
Yep.
Okay.
So far, so good? Okay, great. I do this through being emotional, trusting, open, brave, fierce, and staying open with my feelings. And connecting with my internal knowing.
Okay.
All right. Would you be willing to read that back for me, Laura?
Sure. I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. I do this through being emotional, trusting, open, brave, fierce, and staying open with my feelings and connecting with my internal knowing.
So what does that do for you when you read that out? What is up for you right now as we speak those words out? They're so powerful.
I like it. I actually really like the connecting with my internal knowing.
Tell me more
that we
about
added that. I feel very strongly that intuition leads us in the right direction, and it kind of allows me to put my trust in that instead of always having to stew on everything, I guess.
So what came up for me just now when you said that to me is you were talking about, we talked about discernment, and what you said was more powerful when it came out of your own mouth. That you get that you have a tool called intuition, and your intuition's going to guide you to the right people that you can be vulnerable with. You know this, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You know when someone's not the right person to be vulnerable with.
Yes.
So if you know this about yourself, that you have an internal guidance system like a GPS that knows that this is the right person that I can be vulnerable with, this person hasn't owned it, or I'm sorry, this person hasn't earned it, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, they're not going to own it. Are you willing to start trusting in that discernment of your own intuition, knowing that your intuition is going to teach you and tell you who is the right person that you can be vulnerable with?
Yes. Yeah. Just kind of shutting my mind down when it starts putting all those don't do it,
Ants.
Laura. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All the ants in there. But I do. I like it. I guess I'm going to give you a but yeah here.
Okay.
I guess my thing is that sometimes I do argue with my intuition, you know? And so that's something that I struggle with.
How many times has your intuition been wrong?
Oh no, it's right. It's
So there, you
right.
just said it. So is it a possibility of you're dealing with two parts of you? You are having a battle between your mind and your intuition.
Yes.
And you just told me, Laura, that your intuition's always right.
Yeah.
So that awareness in itself would just be a matter of what could you do to trust your knowing, to trust your intuition. What can you do? Tell me.
What can I do?
How would you practice trusting your intuition?
Listening to it more.
Okay. And then what do you do with it when you hear it and you know it? What would you do?
Act based on it, or act upon that intuition.
Great. And cancel out your head.
Yeah.
Because the head's a great reactor. The intuition's a great responder. To react is to co-create with negativity. To respond is to co-create with what's possible. And if your intuition's a crystal clear channel of clarity, then wouldn't you want to trust that crystal clear channel of clarity versus the foggy head of yours?
Yes.
And all of us, not just you. Makes sense. Okay.
Definitely.
So you have an amazing mantra to work for. So what I'd like you to do one more time is read it out loud one more time as you own it with all this new information, and then we're going to have you sign it, and I'm going to witness it for you as a document that's going out to the universe as your yes.
All right.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I, Laura, say yes to being vulnerable. I do this through being emotional, trusting, open, brave, fierce, and staying open with my feelings and connecting with my internal knowing. I say yes to this mantra as truth in my life and put it into action as done. And so it is.
And so it is. So how does that feel for you to know that you just made this mantra, you have a mantra to work with, and you now put it into the universe as your reality?
I like it. It feels, like you said earlier, like I'm changing, like I'm becoming bigger.
You are getting bigger, and that's the point of this. Now, what are you going to do with this mantra? Are you just going to put it to the side? How are you going to utilize this in your daily life?
I am going to probably make a copy and put one in my office.
Okay.
And have one at home. So when I am feeling anti-vulnerable, that I will read it and remind myself that I am vulnerable, and that makes me free.
And it makes you open and
it
available.
makes me open.
Is there anyone in your life that you'd share this mantra with that would be a little vulnerable for you to share it with?
Yes.
Who?
My husband.
Okay. And do you think how do you think he's going to respond to that?
I think he's going to be proud of me.
Yeah, I would imagine. He probably wants that from you, doesn't he?
Yes.
Will this change your relationship with him if he would start seeing the Laura that's more vulnerable?
Yes, it will.
Okay, are you ready to now put this as a document and actually as a contract to the universe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right here, I'd like you to date it, which is February 28th. And it is now 12:53. And if you're ready to witness this, or actually sign it right here, your name and your date, please just go ahead and sign it.
Okay.
And may I also witness this for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. And I just appreciate so much your willingness to do this work with me today. And do you feel that today's work is going to spur you on to a better you?
Definitely, and I appreciate your willingness to work with me.
You're welcome.
And get me there. Thank you.
If there is one thing that you could walk away with today, like there's something that I don't know or I didn't know before I walked in, what would it be today? There's that one takeaway for today. Your biggest takeaway.
My biggest takeaway is to trust in my intuition.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I'm going to tell you that based on the work we just did together, that I see it in you, but I saw you dancing between your head and your intuition. And my highest invitation to you today, Laura, is to trust your internal knowing. It will guide you always to the right place. So thank you for today.
Thank you very much.
All right, blessings. Thank you.